Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Unconquered Podcast film review, film session. We're looking at the 2019 class and going position by position. Today, we're going to be looking at linebackers. And yes, I know that is not one of the one of the 2019 signees. That's a guy who's been around at Florida State for a while, Dontavius Jackson. But as we've talked about, as I talked about on the prior video where we looked at defensive linemen, I think it's very important to basically work on cleansing the palate a little bit before looking at highlights. One of the things that you always want to do is you want to set your taste a little bit, your eye with something that you know how it turned out. So this is like the chefs who come into the kitchen and the first thing they do is they taste some Swiss cheese to see how their palate is reacting to something neutral that day. It's the same sort of thing here. You want to go ahead and work with some tape of guys that you've seen, that you're familiar with, that you know how they turned out, and ideally you want to focus on guys that are in similar roles compared to what they're going to play in the defense or offense that you're recruiting for, and have similar body shapes, body types, that sort of thing. And also you want to gear toward looking at what really good film looks like. So you want to look at guys who panned out well, who turned out to be very good as well, that you want to focus on that. So I've got a few that we'll look at before we look at the Florida State signees. I want to actually start with Dontavius Jackson, since we've seen Dontavius play now for a few years at Florida State. We're getting a chance to dang that music, and we're getting a chance to see how what he looks like in high school. And you notice he is real thick. He's in the 240 range in high school. Runs okay, but a little heavy-footed there. Turns and moves pretty well. Man, that is ugly film in terms of just the filmer, and he just knocked the guy out. So here you see him move into the ball. Good sidestep for somebody that size. Physical player, at least in terms of against the smaller guy there. And you can see he looks a little stubby. See him getting through traffic. Good looking on the hoof. Little stubby, a little on the short side. And right here you can see just a little bit of the heavy-footedness. He's not super, as he's moving side to side, you can see he's got some thickness right here, and doesn't look like he's a burner exactly. Moves pretty well for a guy that size, though. That's what you're looking at when you're recruiting somebody this size to play that position. He's a guy that, again, right there, that's good burst, not elite, coming to the edge. And again, you can see how that relates to what you're going to get at Florida State. Plays a little bit high on the pad level at times. Plays pretty well inside out, but again, not exactly a burner, and not super bursty. So you can see what that looks like there on this older film. Likes to take on ball carriers. There's not a whole lot of film here of him meeting a guy in a hole. It's a little better there. But again, you can see about a 5, maybe a 4 on a smoothness scale in terms of how smooth he is for the position, in terms of being able to turn and run and pick up those feet and put him down. About a 5 out of 7. And again, the redirect there, that's not bad. It's about a 5 out of 7 again. Ability to sink the hips and move. Again, looks a little overly big, and you can see the beginnings of somebody who's going to have to really work to be in shape at the college level. And that's really what you got. You got somebody who, needed to make sure that he kept his weight under control. And when he's done that, he's been pretty good. But not an elite player. But that's what a 4-star is going to look like there. So then we've got another one that I want to look at, and we're going to do these before we look at Jaleel McRae, because McRae is the biggest backer in this group. So now we're going to look at Reuben Foster, another inside backer. Foster was about 225, I think, coming out. And Foster was a beast coming out. So this is 5-star film. You notice immediately compared to Dontavius Jackson, he's a little quicker and comes downhill faster. Oh. Whew. Both of them physical players, but watch. And here you see again, I always like to see backers who can run with the football as well. It says something about their instincts and also their quickness usually, their size, speed. So you want, if you've got a really great athlete at that size in high school, ideally you want him to be running the football. Oof. Now notice also when compared to Dontavius Jackson, he's a little bit more of a flat back when he's hitting, with those shoulders down just a little bit more. It's going to be him here, and you see those feet. That's about a 6 out of 7 for an inside backer there, looking at the way that he picks those feet up. One of the things I always like to look at is how light do his feet look when he's actually starting to move. Does it look like he's having to actually work to pick his feet up and put him down? That's one of the things that I think just in general I like to look at for prospects, and you'll hear me say this over and over again, is how easy do things look? So even here, look, I mean, that right there, that is elite coming downhill through traffic. Going to get another as a running back, and you can see the nice bubble there, thick through the butt. Right here at the mic position. So this is top level. This is high 4, or I would say 5-star. Yeah, that's 5-star linebacker film for a Mike backer. I mean, he does not project. You look here, his movement still, in terms of fluidity, foot fluidity, you're not going to see the same thing as some of the outside backers in terms of how fluid he is in terms of being able to pick up and put down his feet. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. So that gives us a taste there. Go ahead and move on to Devin White. And he's another bigger guy, 6'2", 235, coming out of high school. So a good comparison to Jaleel McRae. And you can see he's a good bit bigger than Roquan Smith, or than Reuben Foster was, that is. And moves. He does not move as fluidly as Foster. But again, this is a little bit closer in terms of movement to what you're going to get from Dontavius Jackson on his tape. But there's a little bit more looseness in his hips, I think, than what you get from Dontavius. Not too different though. So I would say this is 4-star thumper inside linebacker. That's what you're getting here. That's basically what he turned into at LSU, All-American this last year. And here you see the speed. So you can see again, running the football. You can see the benefits of another to the house. And this just shows you the kind of athleticism you're dealing with. That he's picking this up on the 5-yard line and then just taking off. And that's rare athleticism, rare speed. That's why this guy ends up being an All-American once he gets to college, and you see him pulling away. So and that's a gear that, again, looking at Dontavius Jackson doesn't have. But you're looking at, he's going down as a 36.5 vertical, 10.6 100 meters. That's 5-star. Those are 5-star numbers once you look at that at that tape. So now that we've looked at those bigger guys, I want to move on and take a look at our first one that we're going to take a look at in our lineup here, and that is Jaleel McRae. So we're going to take a look at his midseason senior highlights. You see he's listed, himself as a 4.65. All right, so here we are. And that's pretty good. Now, there is a little hitch in his gait, and you can see he's had some knee injuries, and I already see a little hitch in the gait, so that's something that I'm paying attention to. But, man, he looks really good on the hoof. For a guy that's as big as he is, supposedly 6'2", 230, and that seems to be about accurate based on what he measured in at different places. He doesn't look as stubby for being only 6'2". Well, that's not helping. Got a little image of my wife pushing up the ocean. All right. So let's go back to where we lost it. Yeah, here we are. So again, I want to watch those feet and watch how well he's able to turn and move into a passing lane here. Foot quickness there, I'd say, again, that's pretty comparable. I'd say maybe just a hair better than what you're getting with Dontavius Jackson in terms of foot quickness. I'd say better. And then straight line, he's faster, looks faster to me than what Jackson was coming out of high school. Not as big, obviously. Jackson was, in the 240s, and he's 230 range. Not quite as bursty or sudden as Reuben Foster. Foster being a clear 5-star. This, to me, is pretty close to 4-star tape. I'd say this is 4-star tape, but right there, I again notice. I want you to notice here, there's a little hitch in his gait as he goes to take off that tells you something about his knee. Right there. And you can see he's just not quite healthy. It looks to me to be the right knee that is a little bit dragging. Take a look here. I think that's him there. It'll tell us in a second. Yeah. And the fact that I can pick him out on IMG tells you he looks the part, which, that's... You can see who who looks like they belong in college. A lot of times, just on the hoof, you can see he looks like he belongs. But again, look at that hitch. See that right there? There's every time that right foot hits. This is the one thing I'm a little worried about. And this is the thing is, Florida State's got a very good support staff when it comes to training and prehab, rehab, all that. They're going to need to make sure that his knees and all of that lower body is ready to go. But watch every time that right leg hits. 1, 2, 1. There's just a little drag when in his gait with that right side, and that makes a tiny bit of difference. And you can see right there, it's just a little behind that right side. Not bad. And what I like here is you see him in coverage in a way that's going to translate well to what Florida State does. So he actually looks like he's got pretty good instincts in coverage. To me, he looks like he can play that combo role. I think he's an inside backer at Florida State. He's a Mike backer, especially at the size that he is. But he's a guy that can play as a kind of combo backer to play outside if you need. And you can see he carries a load there and plays with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, talking a little trash afterwards as well. And here you see the speed. That's pretty good. Not bad. So to me, I'm comfortable putting him and saying that his 4-star rating is right. My one concern, my single concern, has to do with the condition of that knee and how well he's going to be able to hold up as and see right there, even there, you can see just a little bit of a gait correction. It's just not a natural gait yet. If he gets fully healthy, then you're looking at a kid that's probably got a good chance of being an NFL player based on what I see here. It's just a matter of how well does he hold up with the knee injury history. And again, that's something Florida State will have to be very, very good at, making sure that he's had good training, good preparation for that. But again, I think he's going to be a guy that, especially if that knee is fully healthy coming in, is a guy that can come in and play early. I mean, that's a guy physically that can come in and get on the field early and contend. So do I think they'll necessarily have a need there because they have Werner and they have Jackson as the bigger backers? Probably not, but he's a guy that, if needed, could do that. Now, I want to take a look at Devin Bush, who played more of an outside will backer at Michigan. And again, this is a role that he's playing, a role that at Florida State in their current defense, they've got a lot of. They've got a lot of need of. He would be a star at Florida State. So he's 220. And you can see he's stubby, but the speed is rare for a guy this size. Oh, the burst there is rare. You see he's thick through the butt, and the burst off the edge is rare. I misdiagnosed him coming out because I felt like he wasn't long enough. I was wrong on my diagnosis of him. Looking at this again, I mean, I thought, yeah, he's really explosive. It's all there. But, ideally you want a little more length in your backers. I've come to value that kind of length less when you see this kind of burst. And he's actually one of those lessons for me where I didn't evaluate him highly enough because he's a football player. His coach, Stanford Samuels Jr., told me, he's like, no, he's a baller. Florida State made a mistake not coming after him hard enough or harder. And dang it, he was right. Boosie was right. And again, here, this is why the length doesn't matter as much. It's because you're looking at a 7 in terms of movement. Right here, this is elite when it comes to moving the feet. Watch right here. That is elite in coverage. Moving and then finding the ball and then the physicality. Yeah, this is, high 4-star. If he's a little taller, you make him a 5-star. But really, in terms of what he turned out to be, he turned out to be a 5-star. I mean, he's an All-American. And he's going to play on Sundays for quite a while. Best player on a very good defense. And again, it's the length that does not matter. I like long, but it does not matter when you have that kind of quickness. And the thickness was not a concern at already 220 coming out. So this is why ultimately I think I got it wrong there, and take that as a lesson. So we'll go ahead and use him as an example for, and I shouldn't have gone Kalen DeLoach on this one. That should be Kevon Glenn. He's the one that I want to look at now. And again, 6'1", about 210. So he's a little bigger, a little thicker than some of the guys that FSU signed, but not quite as thick as Devin Bush. A little taller, similar. Actually, let's do one more. Roquan Smith at 6'1", 203. Smith's one of the best backers to come out in the draft in a while, and was amazing at Georgia. So again, a good example. We don't need to see the 7 on. Yeah, we know you can run. All right. Yep, and this is even better to me than the Reuben Foster tape. This is prototype for me in what I want in a backer. Watch the fluidity here. He's got a little more length than there, but watch the fluidity. Oof, and then boom. And then look how easy he makes it look running in the open field once you can actually see him. No problem picking those feet up and putting them down. And again, with the ball in his hands, that's a pretty good running back, let alone linebacker. So you put the physicality in place, and it's a backside view of this. We don't need to see it. Here he's returning punts. Again, you can see the athletic. This is 5-star tape. Right there, that explosion, that's rare. So this is what that looks like. Oof. And notice how quick and how effortless that burst is. Not outrunning him ever. So yeah, this is what you're looking for. This and Devin Bush, to me, those are ideal types for what you're looking for in the Florida State scheme. And Roquan Smith is basically the platonic ideal. Maybe you want a little taller, but if you're not going to get somebody that's 6'5" that can do all this, this is what you want it to look like. So now let's go ahead and take a look at. Dang it! Let's pause it. Come on. I don't want this to be a problem now. I don't need to log in. All right. Having some issues with making this behave tonight. All right, so Kevon Glenn, that's the next one I want to look at. And so we're going to go ahead and take a look at his senior stats, or senior highlights, that is. This is 6'1", 210, so comparable size, a little thicker than Roquan Smith. Already you can see he's a little heavier footed. But he's a little longer. You see those long arms. Not quite as explosive into the hole. And here's a good view to see how well he picks up and puts down his feet. A little false step there that you can't have in college, but that's normal for high school. But pretty good foot movement. And then good closing on the ball. I would say that's, 5 out of 7 for the position. That's solid. Inside out and explosion to the ball. That right there is excellent. And I like the flat back coming into that contact. Now you notice he's flailing a little bit as a runner, not quite as loose and natural as what you saw with Roquan Smith, but much better than what you get with guys this size usually coming out. So here again, coming downhill, sells out his body. That's what you want to see. So seems to have good instincts, but it's a little harder to tell at the high school level on that. That's one of the things that you have to see more full games. Movement there, I'd say 4.5, 5 out of 7, and then you get to see him with the ball in his hands. Good physicality, good burst. 5 out of 7 there, somewhere in there. And to me, he projects as a a will backer, but more of a 2-down will backer right now. I don't think he's as fluid as, like, again, a Roquan Smith or some of the guys that you want as a true pass coverage guy, but he's a guy that can play. He can play 3 downs, and he looks a lot to me like a lot of the Michigan State backers over the years that have been successful in the scheme that Barnett's running. So, looks to be a good fit to what they're doing. Now, again, you see the good thickness here. And I love the burst to the sideline. That's one of the best highlights on here to show his athleticism. And again, able to see him coming downhill with a quickness. So a lot to be encouraged by here. Another guy that, this is, I'd say, borderline 4-star, probably high 3-star, borderline 4-star type film. Again, just doesn't have quite the right there. You'd see, he was about a half yard to a yard behind where, say, a Roquan Smith would be on that same inside out run. But definitely a football player, definitely physical, has nice pop to him, can play inside out. A lot of the traits that you want to look for here, and also from a winning program, which is something Florida State needed more of for sure. And again, very natural playing inside out through lanes. Good adjustment there. Nice solid tackle. Yep, that's prototype right there. So that's all what you want to see. So generally speaking, pretty positive. Final guy we're going to look at here, Kalen DeLoach. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at his senior stuff. At 6'1", 202, he, to me, is the one with the highest upside out of this class. I think he's got a chance to be a really good backer in Florida State's scheme, and you'll see pretty quickly, well, he's flashing that he actually can do more than just play football, which I do like. Don't need all the pictures, though, son. All right. All right, let's get to the football. All right, here we go. Now, you notice he looks freer and easier as a runner. Again, look at where how his feet are getting picked up and put down. Again, it's about watching where those knees are getting. And right there, that burst, those last 2 steps to the ball there are excellent. Again, you see the fly into the football there. Let's get back a little bit. I want to go back to this one. Watch the last 2 steps to the ball here. This is something I like to see. First of all, gets his hands down, shows he can protect his legs, and then the last 2 steps to the ball are unusual, being able to get downhill so quickly to the ball carrier. That closing speed right there. That I like to see. And again, getting those shoulder pads down and playing flat. He just naturally does that. And you can see he's got some length to him, even though he's only 6'1". He's got some length, and you can see as a running back, this guy's a football player. And that's the thing with all 3 of these guys, they're football players. And if there's a position, you better sign football players, guys that love to play. It's this one. That right? Oh my goodness! See, this is mid 4-star film to me. I think he's underrated. I like him a lot. He's one of my favorite prospects in this class, and I think he's got a chance to be a really good player at Florida State. I think he's a guy that can be a all ACC type guy. He actually reminds me a little bit. I can't remember his name, but the really top end linebacker that Clemson had, not last year but 2 years ago. And no, not Ben Boulware. That was 3 years ago. But the guy that Clemson had, and I can't remember his name at the moment, but Clemson had a kid that I saw in person in their practice at Clemson, who was just a horse of an athlete, and ran like this. The thing with this guy, he comes downhill like this, and he's physical, and I think he'll carry 215 pretty quickly. He'll probably wind up playing at about 220, 225 by the time he's a junior, maybe earlier. Ideally, he's about 215 as a freshman, gets to about 225 as a sophomore. But if he's playing at 225, you're looking at a kid that's on the field as a sophomore and has a chance to be all ACC as a junior. I think this kid's a really good player. Again, look at the movement skills here. To me, also, just in terms of position that you want him to play, this is a star. Now, even better to me, you put him at a will, and then you have a really athletic star, and that you can do that. But this is a guy that you can play on both sides, but he can cover. I mean, you can see the movement skills here. Watch him move his hips here. Right there. You can see the adjustment here and changing speed. All of this stuff, to me, this is closer to the Roquan Smith type player in terms of the film, and I think he's going to be a legit. I mean, that to me is mid to high 4-star tape. I think he, if anything, is a little underrated and has a chance to be. Like I said, I can't say it enough times. I think he has a chance to be the best of the 3 linebackers in this class. I like his upside the most. And I think long term, you're looking at a guy that has a chance of becoming that kind of all ACC coverage linebacker that you leave on the field all 3 downs, 4 downs if they're going to go for it, but all 3 downs. He's the guy that is going to be able to play regardless of, he's scheme neutral. If you're playing a spread team, you want him out there because he can cover. If you're playing a run team, he can play downhill. To me, he might be the best backer. Might wind up being the best backer in this class. And overall, I think the athleticism and the speed there is going to serve him well for Florida State. And I think he'll be. It might take him a little bit longer just because of the size, but you're looking at a guy that. There's a little Telvin in him, a little Telvin Smith. There's some Roquan Smith, that kind of player in terms of what I'm seeing on tape. So a lot to be excited for Florida State fans there. I actually think in terms of what they signed here, overall, the 3 that they signed, provided that McCray is able to stay healthy through his career, the 3 that they signed, you're looking at a class that basically meets the needs. You end up with a Will, a Sam, and a Mike, and all 3 guys are guys that are actually Florida State level players. I don't think there's a whole lot of question about that. It's just a matter of McCray staying healthy to really hit his top end, to hit his ceiling. But I like a lot of what they got there. So go ahead and wrap it here, and next group I'm going to look at are actually I'm just going to break down one, and that's the wide receiver in the next video.